very tired of how every time PlayStation needs some new exclusive game to be hyped up, they drag Yoko Taro out of the bar and have him say, "This game is better than my game. This game is monumental." And, like, it's clearly a desperate attempt to market niche products that nobody actually cares about, to the point where, like, I honestly believe that Yoko Taro has to be on Sony's payroll, because I cannot believe that this nobody who has produced nothing in 7 years is like still being listened to, right? Like, it's bizarre to me that this guy like made Nier Automata and is just sitting on his ass doing nothing, only to occasionally get up and like give an interview about like, oh man, I like Eve's ass, or I like the girls in 13 Sentinels, or whatever. Like, this guy is nothing but a paid shill. Like, I've never heard him say anything about positive about any Nintendo game, but he's always front and center whenever PlayStation wants to like promote some new thing that nobody really cares about, right? Fuck this guy. Nier Automata was garbage. The first Nier was garbage. The remake was garbage. Like, 2B is like probably has a huge throbbing cock, right? Like, I am sick to death of people acting like this guy has like something deep or insightful to say about video games. If he was such a good game developer, we would have gotten a sequel to Nier years ago. Like, why have we had to wait for 7 years? Like, I think it's going to be a solid decade before we get Nier 3. And like, by that point, I think the target audience of horny teenagers are going to like move on to the next like shiny thing. Even now I don't see a lot of people like, nostalgic for 2B because she's been replaced. Like, that dusty, used up sex doll is in the trash can where she belongs, right? My my view on Yoko Taro is that he is the most absolute most overrated Japanese developer right now. Like, obviously, like, there are lots of other people who like don't deserve their reputations, but typically most of them have like some controversy attached to them. Like, Swery is becoming unpopular, like Uchigoshi is becoming unpopular, like the Danganronpa guy I keep calling a retard, right? Like, all these guys are becoming more and more unpopular because of their like stupid decisions, right? But like, say what you will about like Swery or that, like, at least they fucking produce video games, right? You don't see them come out and like try to suck Sony's dick for handouts the way that Yoko Taro does. Like, oh man, this is the best game I've seen since the last game I've seen. Like, fuck off. I never want to hear Yoko Taro give a statement on some other game ever again. Okay, like, I am completely done. Like, I don't want to see like, what's Yoko Taro playing now? I don't care. If he actually cared about producing good work, he would be producing good work now. He wouldn't be sitting on his ass like just being a viral marketer for Sony. Like, fuck this guy. And fuck his fans too. Right? Like, I'm sick to death of people who try to tell you that like, oh, Yoko Taro, he's the greatest game developer. Okay, name more than one game he's worked on. Like, okay, like I know people who love Nier Automata, think it's like the greatest thing ever, who have like no idea the first Nier exists. Like, I know people like that. Like, Drakengard is something that never even came up. Like, Drakengard is so irrelevant that people aren't even asking for a re-release. Like, people ask more for new Dino Crisis games than they ask for Dragon Card, right? Like, who cares about any of this? Like, no, Yoko Taro is not a good writer, right? Like, he didn't make a good video game. 2B is not an interesting video game character. There is no salvaging the Nier IP. Like, even though that people think it's like the greatest thing ever. Like, no, like, how many Yakuza games have we gotten since Nier Automata came out? All of which were better than Nier Automata was to begin with, right? Even Yakuza comes off as like less repetitive and boring than Nier Automata does. Like, why exactly is Nier Automata so critically lauded? It is, I think, the most overrated game of the 2010s. right? Right up there with Witcher 3, Grand Theft Auto 5. Uh, what else came out that year? Uh, yeah, like I think yeah, I think Grand Theft Auto 5 has more merit than Nier Automata because at the very least, like in Grand Theft Auto 5, you can like drive a car around and like pretend like you're cool. In Nier Automata, like what are you doing? Like walking forward and mashing X, like who cares about Nier Automata, right? Like there's nothing interesting about the style. Like Nier Automata, like how in most other games, like if you're carrying a weapon, like it's strapped to your body in some way, in some like believable fashion. Like Nier Automata does this thing where like your heavy weapon just floats behind you. Like it's not even attached. It like clips through everything and it looks ridiculous. Like they couldn't even get basic weapons right in that game. And like, why make all the characters robots? Like, why makes one of them a lesbian? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it's just shallow, empty, effortless, just nonsense, right? Like it is everything bad about anime, right? Like there is no depth to the plot, there is no complexity to the combat. Like the game isn't fun to play, it's not interesting. The characters aren't interesting. Like there's no reason to play Nier Automata unless you are a naive fool who believes that like, well, this is the best game on PS4, so I have to get it. Like the reality is Nier Automata was not impressive, right? It wasn't impressive when it came out. It's not impressive now. Okay, Nier Automata only got as much hype as it did because Sony was desperate to try and downplay the success of the Switch. So they worshipped all of these games, right? They paid off so many game journalists. They put out so many things, Yakuza Zero, Nier Automata, Horizon Zero Dawn, right? Like they tried putting out all these games to compete with the Switch lineup. To compete with Tears of the Breath of the Wild, to compete with ARMS, to complete with Super Batman R and 1-2 Switch. Like Nier Automata probably made less money than 1-2 Switch. That that is how bad Square Enix is right now, and it's sad. Like it really is sad. Like how many people thought that like Nier Automata would save Platinum or would leave Square Enix into a golden age of relevancy. Like nothing has changed. Nier Automata has come and went, and Square Enix is not producing any new games of any merit or value. Square Enix is done, and they will never again produce another Nier product. Fuck Yoko Taro.